Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update. Today we have the latest Roy Morgan real unemployment estimates for July, as well as some important information on working from home, with the Victorian Government vowing to legislate to make working from home a right for those able to do so for at least 2 days a week. But first, today, all eyes have been on today's Reserve Bank meeting, at which the bank decided to cut interest rates by 25 basis points to 3.6%. The decision was widely expected in recent weeks, and consumer confidence has generally improved over the last month. But last week, the week before the Reserve Bank decision, the index softened. The latest ANZ Roy Morgan consumer confidence, based on interviews conducted throughout last week, was down 1.3 points to 89.3. The main driver of this week's fall was weaker buying sentiment, with only 24% of Australians saying now is a good time to buy major household items. That's down 2 percentage points from a week earlier. Today's interest rate cut by the RBA will be expected to provide a further boost to consumer confidence in the weeks ahead. There was good news in terms of inflation expectations. This week, ANZ Roy Morgan inflation expectations dropped back 0.2% to 5%. This means, of course, Australians now expect inflation of 5% over each of the next 2 years. And now to employment and unemployment, the measure that really matters. So real unemployment in July is 10.3%, virtually unchanged on a month ago. So an estimated 1.64 million Australians are unemployed, looking for work. Overall, employment in July increased by 53,000 to almost 14.3 million people employed. However, there was a shift in the underlying dynamics of that labour market in July, with part-time employment increasing, up 75,000 to almost 5.1 million, and full-time jobs down 22,000 to just under 9.2 million. Now, there's often a correlation between levels of part-time work and underemployment, and this correlation was evident in the Roy Morgan employment estimates for July. In July, the increase in part-time employment coincided with an increase in people wanting to work more hours, underemployment. That increased a significant 158,000 to 1.74 million. Following this increase, total unemployment and underemployment, what we call workforce underutilisation, was up 0.9% to 21.2% of the workforce, an estimated 3.38 million people. This is the 8th straight month, stretching back to late last year, the total unemployment and underemployment has been above 3 million. Next week's Economic Reform Roundtable, convened by Treasurer Jim Chalmers, is meant to look at ways to improve productivity, enhance economic resilience, and strengthen budget sustainability. The roundtable will bring together a mix of leaders from business, unions, civil society, government, and other experts. Tackling Australia's continuing high level of labour underutilisation, impacting more than 20% of the workforce, over 3 million people, must be front and centre at that round table. One of the other big topics for discussion at the Economic Reform Roundtable will be the benefits and drawbacks of working from home, especially given the Victorian Government has vowed to legislate a right for Victorian workers to have the ability to work from home at least 2 days a week when reasonable. Newly compiled research from Roy Morgan shows today more than 6.7 million Australians, that's 46% of employed Australians, are working from home at least some of the time, either paid or unpaid. 54% do not. Now, this research is based on approximately 40,000 interviews annually with employed Australians since the outbreak of COVID-19. It's a large, detailed study of work from home, allowing for deep exploration of the dynamics of working from home by employee characteristics like socioeconomic status, income, personal and household income, life stage, whether you've got children, mortgage status, and organisational characteristics like job type, industry size, location, and organisational size. Very interesting. Now, some of the findings show a slim majority of full-time employees, 51%, work from home, compared to just over a third of part-time employees. Importantly, a majority of workers in the metropolitan areas of Sydney, 55%, Melbourne, 52%, and Canberra, 51%, work from home. Working from home rates are lower in the smaller capital cities, led by Hobart with 45% working from home, Adelaide 44%, and Brisbane 43%, and Perth only 40%. In contrast, regional areas show lower adoption of working from home. 40% in regional Queensland work from home, 39% in regional New South Wales, 37% in regional Victoria, 36% in regional Tasmania, and 34% in Darwin and Alice Springs in the Northern Territory, and 33% in regional South Australia, and in Western Australia, only 31% report working from home, at least sometimes. For more detail on the in-depth study of working from home, visit the Roy Morgan website. And that's a wrap. Thanks for your interest in Roy Morgan's latest results. For more detail on the topics covered in this video, head to the Roy Morgan website. And I'll be back next week to bring you the latest data on consumer confidence, inflation expectations following the Reserve Bank's decision today. And we'll be looking at the latest estimates on readership for newspapers and magazines. Thanks for listening.